Hi, Ellenie.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, all our viewers, for whoever's watching. This is what we're calling Health Hangouts with Amanda. And actually, I give Ellenie credit for that because I was on the phone with her the other day and was like, I don't know what to call this video series that we're doing. So Ellenie created that name, and I love it. I love it. So for everybody out there who doesn't know what this is all about, um, strength counseling myself is hosting video interviews with people just to talk about how they're coping with the mandates of the government right now and having to stay at home and social isolation, social distancing, things like that. And so I've invited Ellenie to come forward today and spend some time with me. My name is Amanda Poitras. I'm the Director of Strength Counseling Services. And Ellenie, our wonderful Ellenie, is our media and marketing director here. And so it's wonderful to see you. Because we actually run a digital practice, I've actually never met Ellenie in person.
It's true. It's
and,
true.
and it's just been amazing, the work that we've been able to do together in this digital format, despite never having met. And I don't know when I can get out to where you are, in Quebec, right? I think you're
Yes, I'm in
living
Montreal.
in
Yep.
Montreal. Yeah.
hmm
So so I said someday. We've talked about, I've been to Montreal
Yeah.
one time, and I was like sleeping in a park, waiting for a Greyhound bus, but that was like my
Crazy
experience in
story.
Montreal. Yeah. But yeah, so Ellenie has done this work for us for, man, it must be close to a year now,
It's a little
probably.
over a year. A little over a year because I
Yeah,
started
yeah,
March last year. Yeah.
yeah. So it's been really wonderful to have you on the team.
Thank you.
I invited Ellenie, because she knows a lot about social media marketing, and this is not, I want to be clear, this is not about marketing, although that's part of what's going to happen as a result of sharing these videos. But this is about sharing strength, hope, and love with our viewers and our clients and our followers, because there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to ask for help. They're too afraid to ask for help. They're too depressed to ask for help. I mean, you name it. So I'm hoping that our viewers can access some kind of support from what's happening here. And I did ask all the members of our team here at Strength Counseling to join the conversation. So Ellenie, it's wonderful that you're here. And Ellenie is a mom also, so I'm going to invite her to talk about her experience of having her son home all of the time, and the challenges that she faces there. So yeah. And then Ellenie, of course, if you have any questions for me, I'm an open book and happy to answer any of your curiosities too about how I'm coping with this too. So I'll invite you to share about other things that you do, and just a bit about yourself, whatever you want to share, and then we'll start talking about how you're doing and coping.
Great. Okay. Well, it's so nice to be here actually on this side of it because I'm always on behind the scenes. But I am a social media manager, like Amanda mentioned. I'm also a virtual assistant, and I've been working online since 2016. So this like online stuff is not new to me, where I'm seeing a lot of my my friends and family saying I have to work online now, and I'm like, yeah, I'm used to online work. So this is I work full time. Well, I think it's kind of gone more part time now, but I'm very grateful for the fact that I still get to work. So it's fun. I'm posting on Instagram and Facebook all the time, and getting the messages of my clients out there. And that's what I've been doing since I think my son was 18 months when I started working online, and now he's 5. So yeah. So he was in school for, this past year. That was his first year, like he had preschool. So it was his first year, and I was able to be so much more efficient with my time and work while he was in school. But now, because of everything, he is home with me. So it's gone back to being quite interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, no, it's just a balancing act right now, basically. But yeah.
Now, you did say, and I know this from previous conversations that we've had, but are you open to talking about how your son, he has a sensory issue, right? Can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that and how, and I don't know if we label that as a disability of sorts. You let me know what language you want to use, but the challenges associated with having a child who has special needs of some sort, and you can speak to parents out there who are having similar struggles, perhaps.
Yes. So my son he was diagnosed this year, but not clinically diagnosed. He was diagnosed by an occupational therapist who did an assessment in a general assessment, standardized testing, that he has a vestibular sensory processing disorder, which is kind of his balance, the way he interprets movement is different than somebody who doesn't have it. So he has to work on several things. One being, his core strength, because his balance is sometimes he's clumsy, and he has difficulty playing by himself, which makes everything very challenging because some kids can play for hours by themselves, but he struggles with that. He feels kind of lost with that. And also he has some tendencies to get fixated and obsessed with certain things like music, even though music is not a bad thing, but he could be on it all day and just zone out. So I'm really trying, we have to the occupational therapist and I were always working towards changing his routines, but still keeping him on a systematic schedule so that he has sensory time and movement time. He needs a lot more movement to process, to regulate himself more than other kids. And so doing this now, the occupational therapist finally reached out to me this week saying that she can do virtual chats with him, which is great because he can continue the work. I just have to prepare some stuff. So like a balance ball, and so he can work on his balance and his fine motor and gross motor and all that. But I noticed that when my son is not on a schedule, and that's why school was so great for him, when he was at home before without a schedule, he was almost crawling up the walls, just not knowing what to do with himself or zoning out or whatever. And when he started school, his teacher was telling me that he thrives on a schedule. So when he came home, I realized I need to keep this schedule going. So I wrote out everything for him. This is what we're doing at 8:30 till 9:30. This is what we're doing from 10 to 10:30. And my family and friends, they think I'm crazy because they think I'm just why are you doing this? Why are you so stressed out about it? But it works because he goes to the schedule and he's like, what's next? And then I give him options. So it works for him. So it hasn't been so bad. We do have free time also, but as long as the mornings are very structured, it's been good. It's exhausting for me though.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I had, I was talking to a dad not long ago, and he talked about how his kids are homeschooled, and the topic was not about developmental disabilities or diagnosis or anything like that, but he did say, we're working on homeschooling our kids, and they have recess, and then they have 15 minutes of recess, and we go for a run around the block together,
Yeah.
and actually that's a video that's going to be posted in this video series with Tyler. So that was Tyler talking about that.
Oh.
And so he talked about the importance of having structure also, just in a different way. And so there are a few things that come up for me as you talk about this. And one of them is that there are a lot of families out there who, and not only families, but organizations also, who are working to support children and adults with disabilities. And it can be very challenging, especially in conjunction or on top of the challenges we had before this all happened, right? And then you're saying school was really valuable for your son, and now he can't do that, and so you've had to adapt. And so I'm hearing that this adaptation, despite perhaps some negative feedback from friends and family, has been really valuable for not only him but easier on you in essence, because because he's adapting well to that. So that's wonderful. But I've also heard when Tyler was talking about the importance of structure for his kids also, and just kids in general or families in general. And then we can extrapolate that and say humans in general, like the structure is so important. You know, when we had 9 to 5 jobs that we had to go to, we get into this flow, even if we hated our job, which a lot of us have in the, you know, in our experiences. And now it's like, you know, I'll speak for myself when I say I've worked online for a really long time. I had a practice for a decade or more, and I've been online now for 6 years or so. And so, yeah, I have, you know, I've both worked in offices and worked a lot at home. And then I actually got so, how do I say it? I struggled with working at home by myself for years and years in a row that I decided I needed something more than that. And then ended up partnering with Jackie Rouse for the Sweat House. And then we went into the cycling studio business together, which that happened about 1.5 years ago. Close to when you started, or just a bit before that, or a bit after, can't remember. But so going into an office, and that was my routine. You know, wake up in the morning, commute to work, be in my office, run these businesses, do my thing. And now, having come home, and I like wake up in the morning, and it's like, okay, so now what? Right? I don't have an office to go to because the gym has been closed as a result of what's happening here. And client caseloads due to cost restrictions have dropped also, so I'm finding there's a lot of time on my hands. And so the structure piece, I'll kind of come full circle here. The structure piece has been very important for me as an adult also. So it's not just about children or adults with disabilities, but it's also like children in general, adolescents in general, adults in general. It's really, really been very valuable to create some kind of routine for myself. I found that sometimes I'm going to bed really late, and then I'm sleeping in the morning really late. And then by 1 o'clock in the morning, well, now I've created this pattern that I'm not tired, and I want to sleep until 11, 12, 1 or something like that. And that's a pattern I don't want to get into, because if I allow that to happen, then I lose out on productivity that I could be engaging in, and I lose that time, and then I just get lazy in that. And in my laziness, I can find myself getting into depression of various levels, and that's happened in the past before too. So I really appreciate you talking about the importance of routine and schedule. And I also want to acknowledge, before perhaps you respond to anything I've said, I want to acknowledge that you said, you know, it's really stressful for you, you know, and that's something that's really similar across the board that I'm hearing for parents, is that, you know, there was one parent I talked to, and Mel, who has also done a video with us. She said, you know, I wasn't what was the word? I wasn't a stay-at-home mom that just, you know, educated my kids in homeschooling. That's not what she chose to do as a profession. And so she's doing her best. And I said, you know, I think your best is probably great for your kids, you know, and she's making the best out of the situation she can. But is it stressful? Absolutely, it's stressful. And some of us don't have partners that we can rely on, and some of us do. But you know, for those single parents out there, you know, I really want to give a shout out to you. And I want to say, you know, Ellenie, if you can support me in this, like, I want to say, like, reach out to us, you know, if you want some guidance or support, or you have a question, like, just send us an email, and we're doing everything that we can to provide like free supports the best we can without burning our staff out. So that's kind of what I got from what you said. And I, you know, power to you. I give you a lot of kudos for being the mom you are and working as hard for your son as you do. I see, you know, the Facebook things that you post on your personal page, and it's inspiring, you know, and he's such a cute kid, and it looks like he's very loved.
Oh, thank you. And we recently got him a puppy. So this is right before this home isolation and social distancing, and we're smart enough to maybe, you know, like not even see this coming, of course, because nobody did. And we got him a puppy, so we're dealing with that too. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
no
But I
doubt.
actually was going to ask you about your routine at home, and you touched upon it already. But what do you find helps put structure back into your day so that it feels like you're working and using your brain?
Well, that's a great question, because for the first 2 weeks, I was sick and I didn't have motivation to do anything. In fact, I watched the entire Harry Potter series.
My favorite. I
I
love
know
it.
it is. I know it
My
is.
fave.
And I've never watched those movies before.
Oh, did you love
Well,
it?
I've watched like one or two, but I watched all 8 of them in sequence. It took me 7 days, 6 or 7 days.
Ah,
But yeah, no, I there's a lot I could say about Harry Potter, but it was like an escape, if you will.
it is.
And
Yeah.
when number 8 was done, I think number 8 was my favorite because it was the most intense and
Yeah. Yeah.
dramatic and all of that. But after that, I found myself sitting there going, now I want number 9.
I know.
And it's interesting because, you know, we have this culture now where we're able to binge watch Netflix
Yes.
or you know, Crave or whatever it is. And and, and I'm watching a show right now called Versailles, about Versailles in France, and on CBC, and it's fascinating. Like I love, you know, this is a side point, but I love castles and exploration
I
and
love it
history
too.
and
Me
all
too.
that
It's
stuff.
my
I
favorite.
love it so much. And a couple of years ago, I was able to visit Versailles, so I'm just like
Ah,
oh, I walked
amazing.
through that room, or oh, I like it's so neat, and it's really neat to learn about the history of Versailles, and of course
Oh,
it's a story made for TV, so there's a lot of stuff in there that's
I'm
probably
gonna
not
have to
true.
watch that
But
actually.
it's being offered for free on I think it's CBC, but you can just type in Versailles and
I'm
it's
gonna
on
watch
Shaw on
it.
Demand also. But
Do-
anyway, point is that when I started watching Versailles right after the Harry Potter series was done, I looked at how many episodes there were so I could like prep myself on how many hours I get to watch this show. And I say that with a furrowed brow because I'm like, wow, like I was becoming very quickly very dependent on the TV.
Yeah.
And so now, like, yeah, I watch one episode of Versailles per day. I'm on like, you know, day 5 or something like that, and it's
That's
fascinating. Like, I love
good.
the show, and I'm really enjoying that. And you know, I'll watch it while I'm having my dinner or after dinner while I relax. But my point is that I want to share, and to answer your question in kind of a long-winded way, because that's how I answer questions, but is that I noticed how dependent I was getting on the TV, and I started
Mhm.
feeling kind of low in
Mhm.
myself about that,
Mhm.
or gross might be another word. I mean, I know gross isn't a feeling, but I just felt low, like a
Yeah.
low energy. I wasn't feeling positive about myself. And I remember thinking back to when I first moved to Victoria, which was a huge change in my life. And that was, I actually moved from Lethbridge, Alberta to Victoria about, well, 7 years ago or so. And massive change, which is kind of similar. I mean, it's a different story, but similar to the massive change that's happening in the world
Yeah.
now, and has happened, that I now can't go to work. So when I moved to Victoria, I laid on the couch and I cried and I cried and I watched TV, and I
Mm.
had a supportive network around me, which was really helpful at the time. But I felt for a moment very similar to that in the last few weeks, and I
Almost
thought,
like grief,
oh, big
right?
time, yeah, because it's about loss, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. And it scared me, and so I
Yes.
thought, like, this is not the way I want to live my life right now.
Yeah.
And so I had to have a pep talk with myself. I do live with one other person also right now, and so talking a lot to her about what's coming up, and having that talk with myself, I said, you have a choice here, and you can make a choice to continue watching these 20 episodes of Versailles, which excited me because that's 20 hours of TV that I can just like rely on.
Yeah.
Um, and then feel worse about myself after, and worse
Mhm.
about, you know, time wasting and things like that, or not being able to be engaged. It's not about time wasting. I don't mean it that way, but about being engaged
Yeah.
in a way that is motivating for
Yeah.
me.
And
Or it's,
productive.
yeah, it's like, you know, when we learn another language, if we don't use it, we atrophy in
Yes.
it. And I feel like if I'm not using my creative um, abilities, they atrophy. And for me, I know, like when I moved to Victoria from Alberta, I know that I have the possibility of falling into depression, right?
Mhm.
So it frightened me. And anyway, to answer your question is like what my routine is, I've now stopped watching hours and hours of TV every day. I am working on going to bed earlier so I can wake up at a decent time. I haven't quite nailed that yet. I'm working on changing that around. And then I am working on some type of physical fitness
Yeah.
that I want to like do in the house, maybe 3 times a week.
Mhm.
I have a TRX that we can use. There's a lot of other body weight exercises that we can do even without the TRX. There's a lot of videos out there, like we're
Mhm.
posting some videos, but there's all kinds of free services out there from various companies that are promoting home workouts. So having a routine of being able to exercise is something I want to do. And like this morning, I was so tired. I woke up at 10 o'clock and then had to get ready, and now I have interviews all afternoon. But it
Mhm.
would have been wonderful to wake up at 8, do some exercise, engage in some exercise, and then have my day. But
Yeah.
by the time, you know, the interviews are done, and then I go and have dinner, then I'm gonna want to watch my my episode and then
Yeah. Well,
go to
it's
bed. So
also mentally draining, it tiring to do
it
interviews and work the whole day.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
and that's what I said last night. I said, okay, let's do a TRX workout after I'm done work, and then work finished. We had an emergency group last night actually that
Right.
we're offering, and at 7:30 when that group was done, I had like 45 emails to answer. Because there's such an overwhelming response to
Mhm.
the things that we're offering now, and I'm trying
Yes.
to get back to people as quickly as possible. And it's like I almost need an assistant to answer these emails with me. But I did get through all of them. But by the time I got downstairs, it was 8:45 or something. And then we had dinner. And by the time dinner was done, it was like 10 o'clock, or no, yeah, 8:45. It was like 10 o'clock. And then we watched an
Mhm.
episode of Versailles. And it was just like, there's no way I'm doing a TRX workout right now.
Right.
But it's
Right.
about priorities, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so I'm not going to sit here and say to everybody, "Oh yeah, I got it figured out. This is my routine and it's all easy and you just have to work hard." I'm not going to say that because it's not. It's not
Right.
easy. All these
Right.
changes, there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of likelihood for heightened anxiety and
Yes.
heightened depression. And so I'm working on these things, working on being able to wake up earlier and have the TRX workout, or have some kind of like move my body, because I'm not leaving the house. I haven't left the house in two
Right.
weeks. So I'm isolating here. We're isolating here together. Um, so that's what I'm working on there. But the biggest thing that has helped me change my attitude from like laying on the couch and kind of becoming the couch is projects.
Yeah.
So even though we've seen quite a decline in how do I say it? We've seen a decline in our, sorry, I got distracted there for a second. I just had someone come into the group room. Um, we've seen a decline in our ability to connect with other
Mhm.
people and be outside and all of that stuff.
Yes.
It's like
Mm.
I am making a choice not to allow myself to fall into old patterns like I did when I moved to Victoria. And I chose to isolate when I was living in Victoria. I was living with another person and I was choosing to isolate and cry on the couch all day. And that's what I could do now. It'd be very easy for me to go there,
Yeah.
but I don't want to live like that. So my message out there is saying like, do what I like the saying, I think it's, I don't know how to say her name, but the organizing gal, Marie Kondo, is that her name?
Yeah. Yeah.
She talks about do what sparks joy.
Yes.
And I've only seen a few videos of what she posts,
Yes.
but
I
she's
like
talking
her.
about like her organization style of what she's like putting out there. She says, let's apply that to our minds.
Yes.
And I agree, like, how can we have organization in our minds? And it means taking responsibility. So this project of doing these video calls, like, when did that start? Like 5 days ago?
Yeah.
Like, I just phoned you up and was like, Ellenie, this is what we're gonna do. What do you think? Like,
Love it.
And help me set it up, and like, let's get this going. And since then I've had your video number 6, right?
Yeah.
So this is really exciting, and I do want to post videos daily if possible, if I have enough interviews. So these videos are for kind of anybody who is interested to say what's going on for them and how they're, you know, what their situation is, and it gives ideas for others that don't want to reach out or don't know how or whatever. So so doing this project has been really important. Doing the emergency groups has been really important. And I actually set my office up at home. So I had to empty my office at the studio where I would go every day to work. And I had tears about that. There's a lot of grief about that. And it took me weeks to set the office up. So I finally set this office up.
That's amazing.
And I had some help, and that was really beautiful. Changed some of the pictures in the room.
Yeah.
Made it my own. And so this is like my domain now. And for the last 3 days that I've had the office set up, like, I've got my 2 screens here, which I didn't have. I have a 13-inch laptop computer that I normally like, that I've been using for the last 3 weeks. And it's just like, it makes a difference. So
yes.
So my routine is not just about like what I'm doing from 12 to 1 or whatever. It's about being like in here.
Yes.
Feeling safe within myself, feeling comfortable in my head, in my thoughts, in my personal space. And then from there, you know, when you wake up in the morning, you can be motivated to do whatever you've planned. I don't care if it's writing, you know, your memoir or doing an art project of some kind. It just doesn't matter if you have some kind of project to base your attention on. And there's another little project. It's not that little, but another project that always got a thousand ideas. But another project that's going to be really cool that I'm not going to televise right now. I'll tell you in private. But when that comes out, and the things that we're going to do with that is going to be really, it'll be really fascinating to see how helpful that could be for communities and people and parents and things like that. So I'm really excited to share that.
That sounds exciting.
Later. So yeah, so that's kind of, I hope that answers your question about what I'm trying to do and where.
Yeah, well, setting up your workspace is huge, because I know that that makes a difference. Because when I was working in my old condo, I didn't have an office, I didn't have a desk. And when I moved here to the bigger one, that's the first thing I did, was I got a desk and a designated space. And it really makes a difference to your productivity level, for sure. Yeah, it really, really does. It made a huge difference. Okay, I love that. It's really easy to get depressed at home. And I've been at home for a really long time. When my son was born, I didn't drive. And my husband worked 7 days a week. So really was stuck.
Oh, wow.
Really was stuck at home, aside from walking, going for walks. So this isolation thing is interesting, because I've been there, but not like, you know what I mean? Like, I've been there but to go back there now is strange, because I've since, you know, expanded a lot of my horizons and have gone out and done things and traveled. And I had agoraphobia, actually. I had severe agoraphobia and panic attacks and anxiety. I couldn't even walk to the mailbox, really, when I was going through this. And I think a lot of it was also postpartum anxiety. So this is a very strange time for me, because I have struggled and gotten through these challenges by going out. And so now I'm forced to stay in, which is very strange. So I'm better, but I'm kind of starting to get some of the anxious thoughts that I used to get. Like, what happens when I start going out again? And that's like a huge thing for people, is they wonder what's going to happen when life goes back to somewhat normal, right? So from a long time, I've set up a routine where I exercise, because I find working out really helps with anxiety. So I make sure I exercise 4 or 5 times a week, half an hour a day in the morning, to get through the day. Honestly, if I didn't exercise, my anxiety levels would be through the roof, just because, that's just how I am. I mean, but really, before this isolation, we were in Disney World.
That's right. I remember that.
Yes. And that was such a milestone for me, because it was the first time that I did rides. It was the first time I waited in long lines, because I used to get panic attacks. I couldn't even wait in line at Costco years ago. And then when I lost my mom, it was worse. So I've fought through so many challenges that now I feel weird, because this is like this weird time where I'm forced to stay home, and I never thought that I would get there again. So keeping normalcy for me is working out, working for 2-3 hours a day at least, doing my son's routine. So I kind of immersed myself in his routine. And I need to stay away from the news, just because when I read about the numbers climbing, it really adds to my anxiety level. So I know this sounds maybe strange to some people, but I've unfollowed and unliked a bunch of stuff in my feed. So my Facebook and everything, all the news, I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I know what's happening. I told my husband yesterday, tell me if something major happens. But as of now, if everything's the same, just leave me be, like.
Just don't tell me.
Don't tell me, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about the numbers climbing, because I can get sucked in and just keep reading. And my husband's like, this is not good for your anxiety. Right. So that to me is staying away from the news, working a bit, doing my son's schedule, working out.
That's wonderful. And then having some time for yourself, just away from everybody. Is that something that's important to you?
Yes. It's hard to do right now, but when my son goes to bed, that's when I do still do my emails and work at night, but at least it's peaceful and I can put on something in the background to watch. So we love Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay, great.
So we watch that. So
and it's just a nice. I do think that having shows to watch and things, obviously that it's important to me too. For some downtime, I find that I can just veg and just watch and then just enjoy the story of someone else, rather than getting wrapped up in my own story or the story that's happening in the world. And I love what you said about the news. I've never been one for following politics, really, and people have given me a lot of slack or flack for it, because they're like, well, you don't know what's happening in the world. And I'm like, well, I don't, if it's important enough, I'm going to know what's happening in the world, but I have so many things I want to focus on. I don't want what's happening out there to heighten my anxiety, so I can't be helpful or available or productive in what I'm doing in my life. So now I do know what's happening in the world, and I do generally once every couple of days I will watch Mr. Trudeau's address or President Trump's address. But yeah, same with me. I don't really look at anything else or listen to anything else, because I'm going to focus on what sparks joy. And what is meaningful, and how I can organize my life in a way that is going to be effective for myself and the people around me, and of course our members, our followers, our clients. And I had a gal phone me this morning, and she said, can we do a group for nurses? And she said, like, can it just be for nurses, and can it be island wide? And I said, it can be Canada wide if we want. And so we're going to figure out a way to round up nurses who need mental health support to be able to access that in the best way that they can. And we just want to really be able to give back without burning out. And so that's the big thing, is we're a small team, right? So we're going to do everything we can, but I will put out there that if you have any questions or you need some support, please email us at info@strengthcounseling.ca. if you have questions for Ellenie directly, Ellenie, is it okay if people email you directly?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
My Ellenie at strengthcounseling.ca.
and that's ELLINIE.
ELLENIE.
ELLENIE. I just like type in ELL and then it just auto populates. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So one more time.
ELLENIE at strengthcounseling.ca. And I can also provide if anybody has any questions about homeschooling, schedules for sensory processing disorder, I have a few schedules that I can post on the page as well.
That's wonderful too. And I do want to just say too, in the event, this is entirely up to Ellenie, but in the event anybody wants to help out, reach out, and has questions about social media or getting your message out there.
Right.
You know, I won't speak for you, Ellenie, but I know for us at Strength Counseling, Ellenie, you've been such a huge support and asset here in getting our message out. And before you came on board, I mean, we didn't even have an Instagram page. I don't know anything about that. I don't even have I think I have a personal Instagram page that I never look at. And even Facebook, I didn't use terribly much. So you've been so wonderful in being able to move forward our message through social media channels. And so I really want to just give you a lot of credit for that. And if any of our viewers would like some support, I would like to let them know that you can contact Ellenie directly and ask some questions and see if there's anything you guys can work out together. But yeah, so that's all I really have right now. I think this might be a nice natural place to close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless you have any other questions.
No, that's it. I'm just glad I was able to come on and share my story and talk about our routines at home, which is great. It's important to connect that way during this time. So
absolutely. Yeah. And just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to do this. And of course, also because you are the woman behind the videos, Ellenie is reviewing these videos and we'll be posting them on our page. Ellenie does the majority, I would say 95% of the posts that go out are driven by Ellenie, and then sometimes I post just random things. But you do such a great job, and you're such a wonderful addition to our team, and just really vital here. So thank you for everything that you do and who you are, and for the time here. And I'm excited to see this video go out, as well as all the other ones we've done in the last 5 or 6 days. So, and more to come along the line. So that's the last thing I'll say to our viewers is if anybody wants to join the conversation and have one of these interviews with me, they're open to anybody and everybody. If you have something positive that you want to share with others, and ideas, hope, strength, and love, then I would love to talk to you. So my email is info@strengthcounseling.ca. You can go to www.strengthcounseling.ca and go to the contact page if that's easier. Or you can phone us with the 1-800 number that's on that page too. So reach out if you need, or if you want, or if you just want to say hi, then we're super open to that. And otherwise, Ellenie, thanks for everything.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, absolutely. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.